I had originally made this carnivorous plant bog bowl back at the end of July, and then I went out of town for a couple weeks and came back sick, and I ended up being away from my studio longer than I expected, and I came back to a couple projects that needed some rescuing, and well, this was one of them. Now, this was my first time ever working with carnivorous plants, and there is a bit of a learning curve, but I think the biggest issue here was that I was gone longer than expected, and the whole project dried out way more than intended. And carnivorous plants like a lot of moisture, especially this pitcher plant, so I'm gonna have to change a couple things up, and I'll start with the moss. When I take a closer look at it, you can see that it's dried completely out and died, and then molded over, so I'm gonna have to get rid of all of it. Then I'll gently remove these butterworts because their roots have grown and attached themselves to the lava rocks. And you can really tell that these butterworts have lost all of their color, so I'm going to have to move them a lot closer to my grow light to try to get that color to come back. Then I can pop out the pitcher plant and I'll remove any of the dead moss. And I'll also go ahead and remove any of the carnivorous plant soil because I want to try out a different growing medium. Now, most of the pitchers look like they've survived, but a couple of them are pretty crispy, and I'll go ahead and just remove them. Next, I'll remove the hardscape so I can clean it up, and I'll do that by removing any of the dead moss, and then using a brush I can get rid of any remaining debris. I want to try out a different growing medium, so I'll go ahead and just get rid of all of the carnivorous plant soil. Now, this package could not have arrived at a better time. The team over at Mossify have sent me a couple samples of their Revita-Moss, and this is a live moss that is shipped to you dry, and then you just wake it back up by adding water. And I've never used the product before, so I'm really excited to try it out, and I think that this project might be the perfect opportunity to do it. And it also looks like they've sent me a dry sphagnum moss. Now, this one is not alive, but it's actually something I wanted to use in the project, so this is perfect. And also, it looks like there's a Mister, but this one is electric, and I've never seen that before, so let's go ahead and open this up, see what it's about. Okay, the shape of the Mister is pretty cool. It's very modern, and it comes with this little baggie, and inside it are the instructions, a couple of these filters so nothing gets clogged in your Mister, and then the charging cable. And when I open it up, it does look like there's already a filter attached, so I should be good to go. Now, the instructions do recommend that you charge it fully before the first use, so I'll go ahead and just plug it in. And then once it's charged, I'll fill it up with some distilled water. Then I can reattach the top and turn it on. That's a really fine mist. I don't know if you can see it from this angle, so let me flip it around. Actually, that's pretty cool, and I'm really excited about this. Now, I had said earlier I want to try a different growing medium, and that's going to be this, the sphagnum moss. Sphagnum moss can hold up to 20 times its weight in water, so I'm hoping it's not going to dry out as quickly as the carnivorous plant soil did. And I've seen a couple other creators on here use it to grow their carnivorous plants in, so I want to go ahead and give it a try. After filling up the bowl with sphagnum moss, I'll go ahead and add my distilled water. And then I'll start to massage it in to get it to absorb the water. And it actually looks like I'm going to need some more distilled water because the sphagnum moss can hold that much. But first I want to place my hardscape and make sure that I have it at the right level. And then when I'm happy with that, I'll take some more sphagnum moss and I'll get it really saturated with some distilled water. And wrap it around the roots of my pitcher plant. And I'll make sure that all the roots are tucked into the sphagnum moss. And then I can place the pitcher plant back into the bog bowl. And then on the other side of the project, I'll add a smaller lava rock, and that's where I'm going to place the butterworts. And then I'll just use a paintbrush to clear off any of the debris on the leaves. There's a little pocket of sphagnum moss inside of the wood for the hardscape, and I'm going to go ahead and just get that wet with some more distilled water, and that should help to maintain the moisture levels for this other butterwort. Now let's check out the moss. I'm going to use this mix pack because I think it'll give us a good variety for the project. And inside, it looks like we have this lichen, which is really cool, but I don't know if it's the right fit for the bog bowl. So I'll save it for another project. But we do have the sphagnum moss, the forest moss, and the mood moss. And I'll go ahead and put it back into the tray, and then I'll get it nice and saturated with some distilled water. It really is incredible to see the moss wake back up from its dormant state just by adding a little bit of water. And I'll go ahead and split the mood moss into smaller pieces, and then I can add it into the bog bowl. Now, adding the live moss to the bog bowl not only looks great aesthetically, it also helps to keep the sphagnum moss underneath from drying out too quickly from being exposed to the air, and that should help the pitcher plant to thrive. The live moss will also be able to wick up moisture from the sphagnum moss underneath so that it's able to stay consistently moist and not overly saturated. And then back in the front, I'll go ahead and add some of the live sphagnum moss. And then over on the side, we'll go ahead and put some of the forest moss. And I do like to use a variety of moss in my projects because I feel like it gives them more texture. And lastly, I'll top it off with some more distilled water before giving everything another heavy misting. And I do want to try to bring some of the color back to my carnivorous plants, so I'm going to move this piece a little bit closer to my grow lights and see if I can make that happen. So be sure to check back for more updates on this project and to see what else I can create with the rest of the moss from Mossify.